It's my pleasure to kick off the 12th National Access Conference. My name is Mike Roach. I serve as the State Access Engineer for WSDOT, Wisconsin Department of Transportation. I've been here at the department for 28 years. The last 10 have been in access management. And it's been a ride. I'm really happy that we got a great crowd here. Access management is becoming more and more important in all the states. We'd like to say that we have some international folks here. I think we have some people from South Africa, Saudi Arabia. Welcome to Wisconsin, and thanks for coming. We're really glad you're here. We know a lot of things happen on your way here. You run over critters. Some of you had unbelievable struggles, and I don't have to get into it, but thanks for coming. I'm really glad you guys are here. We got an awesome program. We have 3 tracks in our program. It's important to note that track C tomorrow, it says on your program that it's local government and access management, but any one of you can go to that track, so it's important to know that. I'm going to introduce 3 speakers this morning that are real important to this conference. The first speaker, Marc Butorac. He's with Kittelson and Associates out of Portland, Oregon. He's a senior principal engineer. He's the Northwest Business Development Lead and Vice President of Kittelson. Marc provides oversight and management on transportation engineering planning projects across the United States, ranging from transportation system plans, campus master plans, corridor plans, bike and ped plans, complete streets, traffic signal designs, interchange justification reports, freeway management projects, transportation research projects, rail crossing closure studies, transportation impact analysis for both commercial and rural developments. I say that because that's quite a resume. We're proud to have him as our chairman for the TRB Access Management Committee. Please help me welcome Marc.
Good morning. Good morning. All right, we're going to warm it up here. All right, good morning. Good morning. All right. Well, on behalf of the Transportation Research Board and the Access Management Committee, I welcome you to the 12th Access Management Conference. It's a terrific conference. I appreciate, Mike, what you and your team with the Wisconsin Department of Transportation and the University of Wisconsin have done for us. I think as you've looked through the program, very extensive program, we're excited about that, and we look forward to the next 3 days of conversation. The other thing that today marks is the 25th anniversary of the Access Management Conference that happened in 1993. And I wanted to take just a quick break to recognize the gentleman that got this all started back in 1993. And I think Phil is here. Where's Phil sitting at? Phil, you want to stand up, Phil, really quick? So Phil Demosthenes was the one with the vision and the heart, and took the risk back 25 years ago to have the first Access Management Conference, and we've built from there. So I appreciate Phil for that effort when you were at the Colorado DOT to get this rolling. And since that time, the Access Management Committee has done a lot of things. Gone out, secured a lot of research money over the last 25 years, conducted a lot of dozens and dozens of NCHRP state research reports, really building the practice of access management, and developing guidelines and manuals, and really evolving the practice to serve the transportation industry and the people within that industry. So when I look out here in front of me, you are the people that represent access management, and What I want to do, just to get us going and get people moving, because I love public engagement and I love getting people engaged, is see who we have here today and who you represent. So we're going to do a little show of hands to start up. So those that didn't hit the exercise room, it was a little light there. There was only 3 of us there this morning at 5:45, but hopefully I'll see more of you there tomorrow. But I'd like to get a show of hands of first, how many people traveled more than 500 miles to get here yesterday? How many of those had to go through Chicago yesterday? Any delays in Chicago? A few? Not too bad? All right, all right. Okay, on the access management side itself, how many are involved in the permitting side, actually issuing the permit or securing the permit? Do we have, okay, a few people there. All right, look around. How about on the planning, long-range planning, kind of corridor planning, people that are involved in that element? All right, all right. Your arms are getting a little bit looser now. Good, good. And then how about on the design side, designing of access points and so forth? All right, we got a few others. All right, who didn't any lawyers in the room? All right, we got a few lawyers, so they're on the legal side. Anything else that I didn't mention that you're here for? A lot of people come to these conferences and they're like, asset management? It's like, no, we're not dealing with asset. It's access management. So if you're here for asset, I looked it up. I think it's in Nashville in about a week, so you can go down there. Apologize if you got confused. So last thing on the engagement is I want you to take 60 seconds and look to the person to your right and to the left. Those people against the wall, just look to the people the other way. Introduce yourself and let them know kind of where you're from and then what you hope to get out of the conference, and we'll give you 60 or 90 seconds to do that. So we'll do that really quickly. Oh, okay. Yeah. There you go. Oh, maybe. I'll do it. No problem.
One thing I'm going to put my toes the lightning round to tell people, because I never saw what's happening.
Yeah. All right, great. All right, let's move on here. Yeah, I know engineers don't have a lot of friends, so it's pretty exciting when you get two friends automatically at these conferences. So the planners, you guys are a little bit more, you get out there, you get out on the terrace and stuff and meet people, but the engineers, it takes them a little longer to get going, so. All right, now that you know each other a little bit more, I wanted to take a little bit of time and reflect on kind of access management and give you a little bit of history of what's brought us here and how we kind of look towards the future in access management. So the concept of access management, as it is evolved over the last century, and then going back to, some of it first came when Robert Moses was developing some of the parkways and early highways. You saw a little bit more access management with the Highway Act in 1956 that led to the interstate freeway system. And then all the way up through 2003 with the publication of the first access management manual. Most of that 100 years really focused on separating the conflicts between two or more 2,000 pound plus vehicles from hitting one another. That was what the focus was, and we did a pretty good job through that. Over that time, as a profession, we developed about 70 plus ways to separate those conflicts and minimize those conflicts between the motorists. And as a result of that, whoops, that was a cheese piece. All right, let's see, where is Ben? Ben, we need I don't think we have my slides up here. But while Ben's doing that, I'm going to recognize the sponsors. So we'll do a little sponsor break here. So we have our sponsors. You saw them outside. They've donated their time and their treasure to the event. R.A. Smith is our primary sponsor, and I'll introduce the other sponsors as we go here today, but they're sponsoring both our website as well as our events and the student poster competition as we go forward. All right, there we go. So out of that 100 plus years, about the turn of the century, most transportation planners and engineers in the United States knew about this graphic here. How many have seen this graphic before? All right, so you're with most of those planners and engineers. That's a good thing. As we evolved, though, and we started to look at this from a committee, what we started to see is the translation that the profession was taking was really looking at this and seeing it as how do we protect the motorists and how do we improve the mobility of the motorists, which was great. But as we continued to look at that, we started to see some needs within the profession starting back in about the year 2000. And those came really in two areas. First, of those 70 plus techniques that we use to separate access conflicts, what is their relationship both on a safety and performance and operation standpoint to the multimodal community? So when you put in a right turn lane, what is the consequence to a cyclist or to a pedestrian? The second element that the committee saw was what is good for business. Good access means good business. And actually Federal Highways went around about over a decade and published a video on that. And the committee said, we've done good work the last century, but we need to move the state of the practice. And as such, over the last 10, 15 years, we've really made moves in the multimodal arena and in the economic arena to better understand the benefits of access management. And a result of that, in the second edition of the Access Management Manual that was published here in 2014, you see the introduction of a lot more multimodal and a little bit more wide-ranging on how we go about designing and locating these accesses. So one of the things that you'll see during the conference here in the next few days is a result of that change in direction back in 2000 of looking a little bit more multimodal and looking at the business side and the economic impacts of access management. So as you consider those things, continue to look, and we're going to have a discussion here in a few minutes on where access management will continue to evolve as the time goes forward. So with that, and with that energy, the Access Management Committee has been up to, again, a lot of research, and that's culminated in 3 publications. Hopefully you've seen the one in the blue. How many people have seen the one in the blue? How many have actually opened the first page of the one in the blue? Good. So the Access Management Manual, it was published in 2014. The primary author, Christine Williams, I saw her, raise your hand. So if you have any problems with it, the gal in the green dress, blame her. The Access Management Application Guide, how many have had a chance to look through that document, the green one? All right. So that was published in 2016, and that was actually sitting right next to Christine, Karen Dixon. We put the authors together, so she's there in the purple. And that document, if you haven't had a chance, it is a great document to figure out, we always say this about access management, but where does it come from? So each of these techniques, you go and find the original research, how to apply it, and then you can actually go when a council person asks you, well, what's that based on? It actually has the research content that's based on. A lot of times it gets lost in translation. This document does a really good job of putting the pieces together and telling the story, and also provides a lot of tools for you. The final document, not quite ready, so hopefully none of you have seen it. Maybe some panel members have seen the yellow cover, but is the Multimodal Corridor Access Management Analysis Guide. So this came again off that pivot onto multimodal, and this will be published probably early next year, and looks at the interactions on the operation and performance and safety of those techniques on the other modes, so pedestrian, transit, bicycle, and freight. So it does a good job of going through that document and providing that. So you'll see that at your bookstore. Maybe if TRB moves quickly, we'll see it at the annual meeting, but it'll be sometime in 2019. So with that background, once again, thank you for attending, and we look forward to meeting you and talking with you and discussing things here as the program continues. And if you're interested in getting involved in the committee or learning more about it, today at 4 o'clock we have our mid-year meeting. It's just 1 hour, and you can come learn more about the committee, learn about how we do and how to get involved, and I welcome you to that. So thank you, and enjoy the conference.
Well, thanks, Mark. I forgot a couple things I wanted to mention before I get the next speaker up here. It is important to mingle, especially big groups of you, like the WISTAT people. Make sure we sit at different tables, get to meet guys like Mark that you just heard. You learn a lot. There's a plethora of knowledge, talking to Christine and Karen, these people. So I encourage everybody to get out of your shells and sit down to somebody you don't know and talk access management with them. The next thing I wanted to tell you is turn your cell phones off. I was in Seattle at a national conference, and I had my cell phone off, and I never carry an iPad with me, and I happened to have an iPad in my backpack. And I was sitting in the front of the room ready to introduce the next speaker, and my daughter from Eau Claire University called me on this FaceTime thing that I never use. And it's making this sound that I've never heard before. And the woman that was sitting to speak next was sitting next to me, and I'm looking at her like, boy, you're kind of rude. Turn that thing off. So finally I got enough courage up. I said, hey, your phone's ringing. And she looked at me. She said, it's coming from your bag. And I, can't be. My phone's in my pocket. And I picked out this iPad, and when I opened it up, the screen comes up with my daughter's face on it. Hi, Dad. How you doing? And I couldn't figure out how to shut the thing off. You know, you're panicking, and then thank God the crowd was very generous and just laughed and made me feel all right. But yeah, so turn your equipment off so that doesn't happen to you. The other thing I wanted to talk about was what we call lightning rounds. When you're looking at your program, if you're like me, you see something that sounds real interesting, so you circle it, I'm going to go see that, and then you see something else the same time frame that you're not sure. What we're going to try to do, I've never seen these, but I've heard they really work well, is we'll have a slide up, and the presenter or somebody that represents that presentation will get up and have less than a minute, I think, to tell you what their talk's going to be. They're going to talk for 25 minutes, so they got about a minute to tell the crowd, here's what my talk's about. You might end up scratching off what you circled and go talk to that person. They relate to you. So make sure you don't miss the lightning rounds. I think they're going to be held right before or after lunches, so you see what's coming up, okay? So now, the next speaker, very important to access management and is our leadership, is Secretary David Ross. I want to say that David Ross was appointed by Wisconsin's Governor Walker in January of 2017. This DOT in Wisconsin is one of the largest state agencies with 3,500 employees that he's in charge of here. The annual budget is $3.5 billion. Our department supports all modes of transportation, including highways, local roads, railroads, public transit systems, airports, and harbors. In addition, the department includes the Division of Motor Vehicles, which has about 50,000 customers per week. And then again, we have our Division of State Patrol. They enforce our laws and assist motorists throughout the state. Secretary Ross first joined Walker's cabinet in 2011, though. He was the Secretary of Department of Safety and Professional Services. There he was responsible to help and ensure the safe and competent practice of licensed professionals in Wisconsin while enforcing the laws and support safety and sanitary conditions in public and private buildings. Secretary Ross was born in Superior, Wisconsin. He graduated from Superior High School in 1970, and he received a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Wisconsin Superior College. He grew up in a small business family. He was self-employed for 20 years in an upholstery business. With that experience in the small business and being the mayor of Superior for 8 years means he's keenly aware of government's role in serving the public, supporting economic growth, promoting a reasonable tax and regulatory climate. Mr. Ross and his wife Lynn have 4 daughters and 16 grandchildren. Please help welcome Secretary Ross.
By the way, it's 17 grandchildren. Little Mikey arrived 6 weeks ago while we were in Florida. I told my daughter to hold off. We were visiting another daughter in Florida. And so she says, Dad, go, no problem. We were there a day, got the phone call, and out comes another one. So we are thrilled. I'm actually too young to have grandkids all the way, several in university. We'll be saying goodbye to a grandson to the Army. Next week, this weekend, we're having a get-together with Dane, my latest grandson who's going into the military, and can't wait to do this. Listen, I'm glad to be here. You know, there's something about the content of conferences and how good they are is how I rate whether real work is getting done. And I'm telling you, in this conference, real work is getting done. Mike Davies, my good friend from FHWA. Now, you should have him come up and speak. This guy is a terrific partner. He's a game changer. He's finding different ways to get things done efficiently and to make those dollars that we collect really go into really solid projects and good road work. So, Mike, good partner. Thanks for being here. Our Wisconsin DOT staff. Now, all of you stand. Stand up. There you go. Look at this fine group of people right here. Congratulations. Thanks for having you all here. Good people. I know they look at folks like me as temporary help. It just comes in here and there. But I will tell you this. I have a real passion for transportation. I really do. I take every opportunity to educate myself, read those manuals. By the way, I do. I read applications. I read because any way we can do our job better is really what it's all about, becoming more efficient and increasing the safety of folks all over our states and in our foreign countries. Let me just say this. Your job is incredibly important. When I look at access and have to look at some of the tragic things that happen around the state, we have the Division of State Patrol at DOT, 660 great people that do a great job on our roads every day. And I get the crash data every single day, and then I get a weekly summary. And you read some of the things, just this rash lately of wrong way drivers. And in fact, I'm going to come back tomorrow. There's a section on wrong way drivers. If I can clear my schedule and get back, I'd love to sit in on that. This kind of driving behavior, and what you folks are trying to do is save people from themselves. Yeah, really. Drunk and drug driving, speeding, distracted driving, trying to find a way that people can get home safe without any tragedies. And then just lastly, I just do, Mike Roach, what a great job he's doing. He really looks nice in a suit, I'll tell you. Pretty cool. Krebs cleaned up really nice. I was quite surprised. Steve's got a real long title. Do you want to hear it? I'm amazed. This is quite the title. Because he's coming up to follow after me, and I just think this is so cool. Steve Krebs, Statewide Bureau Deputy Administrator. That's a pretty awesome title, isn't it? I think it's cool. Steve's a cool guy, too. But anyways, on behalf of Governor Walker, welcome. I had to get around to it, right? Welcome to the state of Wisconsin.
Thank you, Secretary Ross, and more importantly, thanks for reading the program and seeing something that matters to you, and you're coming back if you can. That's awesome, because the program is really packed full. I had a hard time figuring out which ones I'm going to go to. I do want to add that there's some folks in the audience, well, the people with the cheese on their lapels, please stand up. I don't have one on mine, but I was supposed to. There's a chunk of cheese that you see on these folks. These folks are locals. They're willing to answer any questions you might have around the area. So we want to make sure if you see somebody with a goofy piece of Wisconsin cheese on them, they're actually pretty smart people, and they'll probably be able to help you out if you talk to them. So having said that, and I know that Secretary Ross just talked about Steve Krebs. Steve's a personal friend of mine, but I worked for Steve. He was a director, and now he's moved on to that fancier title. But Steve worked here for longer than I did, and that's an accomplishment. He's been here, and he's been around in the managerial, but he worked as a worker bee for years, and he never really was in access management. He touched it, because everybody, as you know, touches access management. And when he became my boss, and I had to look at all the different cases in the state, that you're not going to be a friend of people, right? You got to tell them no, or maybe you can't have what you want, but you can have this, and give them some different options. People are usually better with options. You know, we watched Steve struggle because he knew a lot, and he's just sitting there going, okay, this is a lot harder than I thought. And it's kind of nice for me that's been doing this 10 years to see that he realizes this isn't easy either. It's just you have to really put things together, those manuals you saw there. So we put those decisions together, and he ultimately would make the decisions. And I appreciate everything Steve's done at the access management level, and now he's moved up. He's been here for 32 years. He's worked in a number of engineering managerial roles, as I said. He's currently has that fancy title that Secretary Dave Ross said, Deputy Administrator for the Statewide Bureaus in the Division of Transportation System Development. He graduated from right here in town, Madison University, with a Bachelor of Science, Civil Engineering, and he's got his PE here in this state. Please help welcome my friend, Steve Krebs.
Thanks, Mike, and welcome everybody. It's my pleasure to be here this morning and help kick this conference off. As Mike said, I'm relatively new to Access, to be honest. You know, I spent the majority of my career trying to build our way out of congestion. I spent most of my time in construction and the development of highways. So this is all somewhat new, and Mike's been a great mentor for me and a great coach, and so it's been really an eye-opening experience for me to get into the Access part of what we do and how important it is. I want to just touch on something that Secretary Ross said earlier. And, you know, he said he reads these manuals and he reads these reports and he reads this research, And I'm here to tell you that he absolutely does, because he schooled me more than once on something that's in some manual or some report somewhere. I don't know how in the world he finds the time to do it, because I barely have the time to do it, but he reads and reads a lot. And he's been a great supporter of our department. We're working on improving our efficiencies and how we do business, and he's leading us through that change and reform, and it's really been a good thing for us. So it's been great having you on board. And no, I don't consider you temporary help. I consider you a lifelong friend now. So I just, why is access important? Well, access management has been recognized as a way to improve the functionality of our system and reduce the congestion, improve the efficiency, and make it safer for everybody. Departments and agencies around the country and world have recognized the importance of access management. They have funded studies, implemented policies to improve the transportation system at every level: international, interstate, state, county, all the way down to the local level. And I see that we have some local folks here, some county folks. I introduced myself to some city and county folks right behind us earlier, and so that's great to see, because access cuts across all levels of what we do. Managing access benefits everyone. The travelers on our highway get to their destination more quickly and safely. Governments save money by not having to add lanes or build their way out of capacity issues. Businesses get safer and more efficient access from and to their businesses and for their customers and their suppliers. But I'm kind of preaching to the choir, right? You all know that. That's why you're all here. Access is more about saying yes or no to every driveway request. It's more than that. It's balancing the needs of the through traffic, the traveling public, the property owners, developers, multiple levels of government, and every mode of transportation. It's looking at all the variables and developing solutions that best accommodate everyone's needs. It's not easy. It's not easy when you're getting pressure from all sides, and they're divergent sides as well. That's why we're here to learn from one another and share our experiences and work together for solutions that serve everyone. That's why we chose the theme for this conference: access management on every road for everyone. Again, it's not easy. We're here to find that balancing act and do the right thing for everybody. I hope you enjoy your time in Madison, but more importantly, I hope you come away from this conference with some new ideas and solutions that you can apply to your everyday situation at home. And thank you, and welcome to Madison.
All right, so, can you still hear me? Good? All right. We're going to spend about another 60 seconds, so I want to see if you can remember the person's name to your left and your right. And while you're doing that, we're going to get adjusted up here for a roundtable discussion, and we'll start up here in 60 seconds. But while you're thinking about that, we will be talking about autonomous vehicles and access management. You're going to ask, well, Mark, what does autonomous vehicles and access management have to do with one another? Well, for the next hour, we're going to learn a little bit more about that. And with that, time clock's on. Remember their name? All right, go.